Okay, so here we go. We are talking about transaction coordination. And one of the things that you can do to outsource and spend more time doing the things that you love instead of paperwork. In case, well, some of you might love paperwork and you can do your own paperwork, but it's just something for me that in the beginning, I've only been doing this for about 6 years, but it was something in the beginning for me that I outsourced immediately. $300-400, whatever a transaction. It seemed very smart for me to take that out of my commission if I made $8,000 or whatever. It seemed very smart for me to, have somebody who knew paperwork very well and represent me on that. And also not get involved with all that back and forth. There's a lot of time that can be spent on paperwork once you get that contract in your hand. So we're talking about transaction coordination, and I have Alex on here. Alex Marcellet. Oh, got it. And so Alex is somebody that I want to introduce. So I've known Alex from the beginning, 6 years, like me, in the business, and has really hustled and developed an amazing team. You have about 15 transaction coordinators. I'll let you tell it in a sec. About 15 people, Minnesota market, Wisconsin market, and Alaska. So what I love about her is I like to talk to experts who really know what's going on. Last year, 2021, they wrote over 2,000 sides. So they know what they're seeing, they know what's winning, they know what's losing, and they know how to keep transactions together. And one of the things that I will say is I've had a lot of transaction coordinators. I don't know, maybe I've had like 6 in my 6 years, maybe only like 5, I don't know exactly, but it can be hard to find the right person or right company that you jive with that really gets stuff and keeps it together. So I wanted to introduce this as something as an option to you guys. If you're not already outsourcing this, to think about possibly outsourcing your paperwork. And a lot of this is contract to close. So it's once you get that paperwork, you hand it off to your transaction coordinator, you're still involved, you're still interacting with your clients and doing all the things, but a lot of that is taken care of behind the scenes, especially with title and lender, all that stuff to help to get you to close. So Alex, hello.
Hi, Kelly.
Thank you for being on here once again. So let me ask you, we'll start by asking you some questions, okay? So what would you say? I kind of explained in my words what a transaction coordinator is. What would you say a transaction coordinator is?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for allowing me to speak on this. I'm so excited. Obviously, this is a topic I'm very passionate about. Transaction coordinators are really someone who supports real estate agents in growing their businesses. Whether that's, you're growing your volume, you're growing your sales, or you are really happy with where your business is at, but maybe you want to grow your work-life balance and be with your family a little bit more, or not always be on the business. That's where a transaction coordinator comes into play. You hit it on the head. Transaction coordinators are contract through close. Most transaction coordinators are at the time of a fully accepted purchase agreement through closing. Our company jumps in a little bit earlier. I'll talk about that later on in the conversation.
Okay, so then, I do want to talk about the process at some point, but let's say, okay, so the benefits of using are somewhat obvious, right? So it frees up time, but what would you say major benefits for somebody? Because there's some people that are like, it's $400. We'll talk about price too.
Yeah.
But some people are still like, well, I can do that. I like doing that. Then I know it's done. What are the true benefits for people?
So pricing, you can expect a transaction coordinator, depending on your state, location, average sales price. It's usually going to be about 5% of your average gross commission check. So somewhere between $300 to $500, depending on the state and how much services the TC is providing. One of the biggest benefits of hiring a transaction coordinator, I heard you speak about this earlier, Kelly. Agents don't always know what their dollar per hour is. Let's say your average commission check is $6,000 and you put 40 hours into each client. That makes your average dollar per hour $150 per hour. And in most cases, a transaction coordinator is going to save a real estate agent somewhere between 8 to 10 hours. Let's call it 10 just to keep it simple, 10 hours per transaction. That's $1,500 saved by hiring the TC. And that TC's fee is less than $500 in most cases. So that's money well spent. It's a great return on your investment. And by the way, most transaction coordination companies, you only pay them if you close. So there's no overhead fee. You're not paying out that $300, $400 unless you successfully close. There are a few states where it is pretty typical for a transaction coordinator to charge a cancellation fee. I see those ranging between 50 to $100. So it still is a relatively low rate for an agent. But it really helps increase that dollar per hour. It pushes you closer to $200 per hour now that you're focused on negotiations and building the relationships with your clients.
So let's talk about the process both for buyers and sellers. So are mostly, and obviously people can hire you to do even more and pay for more if they want, but let's talk about a buyer process to begin with. So are you guys writing the purchase agreements? How does that work? And then once it gets accepted, then what?
Our company is really unique. For most people, don't expect your transaction coordination or your TC or TC company to be writing your offers. Our team at Home Free TC does assist agents with writing offers in Minnesota. So we don't charge per offer written. It's just a part of our file fee. And we'll help write as many offers as it takes until that offer gets accepted. Right now, we have a 37.8% offer acceptance rate. So we're writing 3 offers on average before one gets accepted for our buyers' agents. The agents fill out a form. It's everything we need to know to write the offer on their behalf. We write it up, send it out, and by the time they're back to their computer, the offer's in their inbox for their review.
So we all know that it's always like late Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What are hours and how does that work?
Yeah, so our team, we have coverage Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 until 6. So really good coverage for agents. It's not 24/7, but pretty darn good. In most cases, if you're working with a TC who is not assisting you with drafting paperwork, they're going to be Monday through Friday during business hours, say 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about that buyer process then. So you guys are writing the purchase agreements. Let's say one finally gets accepted. Not finally, you won 37% acceptance rate. Okay, so you got that. Then what is the process that you guys do behind the scenes for that buyer?
Absolutely. So first thing is we're going through and reviewing the paperwork. We have all the right documents, all the right boxes are checked. The broker is going to be happy. This is compliant paperwork. Broker is going to be happy. We don't need to go back and get signatures or do any edits here. Then opening up the file, lender, title, other agent, and buyer and seller, making sure everyone has copies of the paperwork, making sure everyone has all the right dates and deadlines and expectations, what's coming up next. Hey buyer, here's your title company contact, here's your inspector information, here's everything you need to know. Hi lender, hi title, here's the buyer's contact information, here's the purchase agreement, here's all the key dates and deadlines, here's what's coming up next. And same thing for the other agents as well. So your TC is taking care of all of that and getting the file submitted to your broker for their review immediately.
And talking to title, obviously, too.
Yep. So making sure title has what they need, buyer's contact info, lender and title each have each other's contact information so they can coordinate together. Really, the TC is the person, they're the project manager of the transaction. They're making sure everyone is moving forward at the same pace. And the moment that someone starts to slow down, that's when we're like, hey, Kelly, we're going to play Bulldog here. We need you to have our back. We have not heard back about this appraisal. We're going to circle back, but we might need you to come in here.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. I like that. So what was I going to ask you? Now I forgot. I can't remember. Okay, so buyer side, keep going with that.
Yeah. So after that deal comes together, we're doing a ton of things within the first 24 hours, making sure the MLS status is updated, making sure that our agents are getting earnest money submitted, you name it. So we're doing all of it.
Following up, because a lot of times when you're a busy agent, all of a sudden, I mean, don't ever let this happen, but you're like, oh my gosh, earnest money was due 48 hours after. And oh my gosh, somebody wants to back out and we don't have earnest money collected. Like these things are like, they can be a big deal. I know what I was going to ask you. So as far as, are you communicating directly with the clients? And if you are, how is that signature looking on behalf of the agent?
Yeah. So it depends for each TC. For our company, we do have an opt-in for buyer communication. Some agents want us to, and some agents want to own the communication. So it's flexible. We don't charge more or less. Right now, we do use home free signature just because our system doesn't allow us to use other email signatures. There are a couple of systems out there that other TCs use where they can interchange between the signatures. It just depends on which company you're hiring.
Yeah. So it'd just be the realtor's job to say, I have a transaction coordination company. This is their name. They will be corresponding. And then you obviously CC the agent.
Yes.
So they know what's going on. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And we have our emails customized. So it highlights like Kelly's the agent on this sale, whereas, the next one, it might be David. So David has a different email. So there is some customization and some flexibility in what that correspondence looks like for your
And I
clients.
truly think that's amazing. And if you don't, it has to be managed, because there's been times where I worked with other people and then someone else's name is on there and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So it does have to be managed, but then it seems more custom, and truly, a second ago, I was talking about building your team. Like, this is your team. You have a transaction coordination company who's, helping get this successfully to closing. Okay, great. So we talked about the buyer side. Let's talk about the list side and because there's way more what's going on in a listing. There's MLS input. There's a lot more. Talk to me about that process.
Yep. So for our team, we do have transaction coordination and MLS listing management as separate fees, just because some agents want the MLS support, some agents don't. So for us, we charge $99 on the listing side. We'll help get the listing onto the MLS, upload photos, supplements, open houses, change the MLS status, put in open houses or virtual tours, anything that you need for the listing side on the MLS. Our team will take care of it for $99 per property. A lot of TCs, not all of them, but it's pretty good expectation. Your TC probably can offer some listing support to you in some capacity. Those fees can range anywhere from $50 to I've seen like $250, just depending on how much they're doing for the agents.
What do you mean listing support?
So listing support, in addition, our company will also help collect disclosures and utility information from the sellers. There are other companies in the country that will help if there's like if sellers need to get a termite inspection before the property goes listed, they'll help coordinate that. Or maybe they'll help schedule photography or not showings, photography, staging, those sorts of things.
Measurement.
So,
okay.
Exactly.
So for a fee, you will do that in addition.
Correct.
And I think it's cool. Your hours are amazing. There's a lot of transaction coordination companies that aren't available. So then all of a sudden for us, that's problematic, because on a weekend, all of a sudden we need a property changed from active to TNAS or pending or whatever it is.
Right.
And if it's not changed, then our phone is blowing up. Kelly, what's going on? So I think that timing is really important. So let me ask you this. Obviously, your people don't work all those hours, and sometimes is it per file? There might be a couple people on that file. How do you make sure then with your people that it's seamless and it doesn't seem like there's 18 people on this file and then they don't know what's going on?
Great question. So we have a team of 13, 15 people right around there. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact number. Let's say half of those people are transaction coordinators. We have myself, we have a director of operations, we have compliance coordinators and processors. But for the agent, for the clients, for lender, title, other agent, everyone in the transaction, there's one person. Let's say that person is Stephanie, one of our transaction coordinators. So any outbound emails, it's only Stephanie. Even if maybe JC is filling in nights and weekends, it's JC who's helping you write that offer, Friday night at 8 p.m. She's able to get into Stephanie's inbox. Our team is entirely cross-trained. We always do a recap. So if I'm like, hey, great news, we just signed a new agent, Kelly. She's been in the business for 6 years. Last year, her team did 100 million. Here's a little bit about their personality types. They're like these women who are super ambitious and get a lot done. We go through and do a full recap of what the team or what the agent, their personality profile. So everyone's up to speed. They know exactly how the agent functions, what their expectations are, and how to work with them. It's a really seamless baton pass, and it's one that we've been perfecting over the last 6 years. It's really, really smooth for agents. It's so nice.
Well, and I will say, like you just said, it's one that you've been perfecting. So there's a lot of, and again, I've used different people, and I think it's amazing that you do have that down, and you have to strive to keep having that down and keep having a system, because it's obviously, it's not realistic that someone's going to be available Monday through Sunday for you, that same person. But I think it's cool that you really spend a lot of time honing in on that and making sure it's perfected, because there's been times at other TC companies I've used, and then it's like, that was already sent. That got missed. And then it makes you look bad. It's like, oh my God, that client, now they're confused. They're like, Kelly, why was that sent? Didn't you already get the seller's disclosures? Didn't you already get that? And then it can, sellers for sure for sellers, they're already like high stress anyways. So we just really have to have that button down. And I just, compliment you on that for making sure that that's a priority. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. It's so important. It's everything. Most agents want a repeat referral based business. So the moment that we start looking like it's messy, even if it's, our side being messy and not the agent side, that's a portrayal of how the service level that you provide as the agent. It is the most important thing. And so working with a service provider who does a really, really top-notch job is so, so important.
Yep. Love it. Would you say you work with more teams, more individual agents? Talk to me about that.
We're very mixed. I'd say we're probably about 50-50 at this point. I know 25% of our business has an executive assistant and still uses our services. That executive assistant functions in email management, building out the CRM, taking over client communication, like the really good client communication that leads into that repeat referral based business. That's what the EA focuses on. And we focus on all the things that it doesn't matter who does it, as long as it's done correctly and on time. That's what we get to do.
Okay.
So we're pretty well mixed. Most of our agents are either selling between 15 to 40 homes a year, or they're selling somewhere between 80 plus or just 80 plus homes a year. They already have that executive assistant. That EA is too busy, so then they hire us to support the EA. So we're a really nice stepping stone for a lot of different business models as far as real estate agents go. We certainly do have a few agents who sell between 40 and 60 homes a year. Those are the folks who don't desire to grow too much, and they also don't desire to be the person hiring, training, worrying about payroll, vacation, and all that sort of stuff. I get to worry about that for our agents as the business owner. So
yeah, super nice. I love it. Okay. So one of the reasons why I wanted her on here is I'm going to have this recorded. I have this on YouTube. And for other people that see it, like our expansion partners, I want people to understand that this is an option. Alex, I want you to go through your company in a second, just talk about where people can contact you. But regardless of if it's Alex or someone else, maybe you're not in this market. She services Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Alaska. But to have a transaction coordinator and to outsource it, number one, it's not that much money in the scheme of things when you look at your commission and how much truly, when you just pointed out how much hourly that you make. And obviously too, like you're not doing it then. You have a true expert, you're paying them to do it. It can make you look better. And there's so many people talking to me about goals. And I haven't had anyone say that they want to do the same or less volume. Everyone wants to do more volume next year, major lack of inventory. So how are you going to do it? So for me, this is an absolute no-brainer that I recognized at the beginning of my business, even when I wasn't making a whole lot of money, that I was going to make sure to have a true expert in my back pocket so I looked good to my agents. Because just like Alex said, it's a repeat business. I need to look good every single time and have that consistency. So thank you for being here. First of all, I'm going to ask you, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to point out about transaction coordination?
Find a TC who fits well with your team. We were talking about this in an earlier conversation. Whenever I'm onboarding an agent, I'm asking the agent questions to verify, are we a good fit for you? And are you a good fit for us? Any transaction coordinator you could potentially be interviewing should be a good fit and reflection of what business you're trying to build and the culture you're trying to build. So make sure you find that person. They also should be filling that out for you too. Now, if you're not an agent in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Alaska, you're in another state and you need a transaction coordinator, reach out to me. I actually had someone else on this call today already, Kelly, reach out to me and I connected them with a TC in their state. I manage a Facebook page of over 5,000 independent transaction coordinators. So if you need somebody, I can find you someone great in your state.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah, I don't have, we covered a lot of the basics. We could certainly go more in depth, but I think that's a good overview for today.
As far as if people are interested in talking to you, and by the way, I just have to say, I love too that you interview the people. And I actually believe that you do that. It has to be a good fit both ways. Like she's very busy. You have a lot of people. It has to be a good fit both ways. So if somebody wants to use you, how do they get a hold of you and what's the process?
Yes. Email me, Alex, ALEX at homefreetc.com. Email me, just let me know, hey, I'd like to set up a time to meet. I'll get you on the calendar. We go through, do about a 30-minute consultation call to make sure that this is the right fit, set expectations, and then we can get you onboarded, paired up with your TC, in less than 24 hours, you're all set and ready to go, and we can start writing offers for you like as soon as you need them.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So consider outsourcing your TC, your transaction coordination service, and get a hold of Alex if you are in that market. And thanks guys for being on here.
Thank you.